Hey guys, this is Miss Regine from SOAR Educational Services. Usually on this channel, I am posting math videos, but I did see a need to post some history lessons and some government and civics lesson. So today, that's what I'm going to be teaching you about. We're going to be learning about what is federalism and separation of power in the government and all of how it came about. So on May 25th, 1787, delegates from different states met in Philadelphia for the Constitutional Convention. Now, this came about because the United States' first constitution was the Articles of Confederation, but it had proven to be very weak and ineffective. So delegates from different states, including George Washington and James Madison and other prominent figures in the country at the time, met to think of something different. Initially, it was just to tweak the Articles of Confederation, but by the end, they came up with something completely different. So here are the things that is important to realize. Now, the new Constitution did provide for a strong and robust executive branch, which was what was missing from the Articles of Confederation. So that's one of the things that they noticed. But the presidential power was never intended to be absolute. There were checks and balances with the other branches of government. So, for example, while the president is head of the nation's armed forces, it is up to the Congress to declare war. And same thing with as far as the power of the purse, that is held in the legislative branch. And the president needs the Senate to confirm a lot of the appointments, the judicial appointments and cabinet appointments. So throughout the summer, the delegates met, and on September 17, 1787, 42 delegates signed the new Constitution. Now, originally, it was actually 55 members who met, but some of the delegates who went to Philadelphia were not happy and they left, because there has always been a debate in this country about what the limitation of government is, how strong the government should be. But what they did create, and what all the original states, the 13 states that were originally in this country, ended up signing, created a federal republic. So the states did agree on this. And let me explain what federalism is. So federalism is, we have a national government, and we do call that federal government. So I know that's a bit confusing because it's just like the word there, but they do have different definitions. So we call the national government the federal government also, but that's not the same meaning as federalism. So in our national government, we have our president, we have the U.S. Senate, we have the U.S. House of Representatives, and we have the Supreme Court. Now, below, clearly not as powerful and autonomous, are state government. And most state government actually follow the same model as the federal government, the national government. There are three branches for them. And I mean, I think there might be a few states that may have things slightly different, but overall, they're going to have a governor and two houses. Like I live here in Georgia, and we have state senate and state representative. And there are state courts. And then you also have local government. Some places have county government. So they can be broken down into further parts. And local governments definitely vary depending on locality. Some places have city managers. Some places have city mayors. So that one, some of them are elected, some of them are appointed. So it could vary. But that is clearly how it is split. And the intention was that, yes, the unifying power is in the national government, but there are certain things that were reserved for the state. And that was very important. James Madison, as they were working on getting the states to ratify the Constitution, they promised the states a Bill of Rights, which would protect some of the rights of the state. And one of the amendments in the Bill of Rights is the 10th Amendment. And that 10th Amendment states that, and I will read that, it says, amendments which reserves the rights not explicitly delegated or prohibited by the federal constitution to the states respectively or to the people. So while they did preserve a strong central government, um, this 10th Amendment and other amendments of the Bill of Rights was there to limit the power of the national government and to protect different types of minority, in which case, and back then, it wasn't so much as racial minorities because although the framers had a good framework, there were still a lot of other prejudices and other things that were not taken into account. But that was the initial framework, which is to protect whatever different interest group of the time. So a lot of it before were agrarian communities and smaller states versus, larger, wealthier states and ones that were more commercial based. Now, throughout the U.S. history, there has been some tension between the federal and the state. When Thomas Jefferson did oppose the whole thing that was going on in Philadelphia. I believe he was the one that says, "I smell a rat in Philadelphia," and he called the people who met their demigods because he was really a supporter of states' rights. So he did state that the states have given, they've come into a contract or compact with the national government. Remember, the states did have to ratify the Constitution. So he said that the states came into a contract with the national government. So they have given the national government the right to govern and that they can take that away. Now, most states did not agree with that. He specifically talked about that during the Alien and Sedition Act. I believe that was when Europe was in a war. France and England was in a war. And I think it was John Adams, who was president at the time, wrote the Alien and Sedition Act just to mostly try to keep America neutral and out of this war. And Thomas Jefferson did not agree with that overreach of power. And so he wrote that. But at that time, the states did not actually agree with him. Most states did not agree with him. I mean, I'm sure there were individuals, but most states realized that it was better to, together we are stronger type of idea. So that it was better to put all of their resources together and to follow the national government. Now, other times it did come to head with other places. For example, with Andrew Jackson, he did not agree. I mean, he believed in a strong presidency and central government. So he did not agree. And definitely the most common one is with the Civil War. So yes, the Civil War was fought over slavery, but behind that was also states' right. So do states have a right to say, well, we're going to pay this tariff or we're going to have slaves while other states do not? And South Carolina and a lot of other states in the Confederacy at the time believed that states did have a right to nullify that. There was a whole nullification crisis when it came to tariffs and slavery, that a lot of states said, well, you know what, we have entered into a contract with you, so we don't have to follow that if you are not meeting our needs or we don't agree with this. So some states thought that they could nullify certain federal law. And through in the Civil War, we have mostly come to an agreement that the federal government is the supreme law of the land and that the state government cannot operate completely independently under the federal law. But there are also certain limitations to the federal law. And that's where the 10th Amendment comes in. So the states do have certain areas. For example, many states have a state income tax. So that way they can determine what they do with their money. So here in Georgia, the governor, after they have a surplus, they send money back, but other states may choose to use it some other ways. So each state, and then even city, of course, city government is under the guidance of state laws, of course, and they must follow all those laws. But again, different cities have different rules. So here in Georgia, there was some cities that they did not have alcohol sales, and then other cities did. And that would just be, under different jurisdiction. So that's something that's very important to realize, that while we do have one national government, each state can, if it has not been specifically prohibited by the Constitution, which is why, like during slavery, you had to have specific amendments, like the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. So things that the federal government want the state to do, like if the federal government wants to change certain things and make sure that all states are doing this, they will have to create an amendment to the Constitution, which would need to be ratified by the states also. So that means that the states have agreed, okay, we are entering into contract and we're agreeing that as the states of America, that we will abide by these rules. So any changes besides what's originally there in the other 26 amendments that are there, or 27 amendments that are there, that has to be ratified and added. So I hope this was helpful. Just a quick crash course on federalism, and I'll be doing more of these just to also teach a little bit of history. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.